Has anybody ever heard of CGI back in the day? Have you ever watched some of the old computer animated shows and movies, like VeggieTales and Toy Story? Well, I used to remember an old computer animated short that disturbed me forever. I'm a single person at my house located somewhere in a small cul-de-sac in the West Midlands. I was cleaning up the loft until I noticed my box full of videotapes and my video player. I opened the box and the tapes there were my favorite movies and TV shows. There were some Disney movies and others that were made by different companies. In the box I noticed a videotape sealed in Dynamicron T120 case, which is something I don't remember owning. I then took the tape and the video player and hooked the player up to my digital bedroom TV. I opened the case and the blank tape itself was marked with a pen, saying, "Help me, Mommy, 1992. I thought this had to be some stupid horror movie, so I inserted the tape into my video player, and forgot to mention that the tape was never played before. The video started in a kid's bedroom at night, with the night lamp on. This was a short film, done entirely in primitive 3D animation. Looks like it was animated in Wavefront, a software that created the incredible Crash Dummies in 1993, a year after this short came out. In the bedroom, there were two robot-like human characters, a mother and a boy that is about like 5 years old in his jammies. The mother was reading the boy a bedtime story about animals doing mishaps around the circus, as stated in a book she was holding. The mother left the boy's room after the bedtime story, now with the night lamp off. The kid in bed was struggling to sleep. He even tried to shut his eyes to fall asleep, but to no avail. While the kid was trying to sleep, he heard strange noises coming from the closet. The boy left his bed and opened the closet. Nothing was there. Then the noise was heard again, but under the bed. The boy checked under it, but again, nothing was there. Then the noise is now heard in the hallway, outside the boy's bedroom. The unnerving noises that were heard were inhuman breathing and moving noises. The boy walks towards the door and got out of his bedroom, and yet again nothing was there. The boy started quietly roaming around the house. As he walked toward the living room, a blood-curdling moan was emitted from the kitchen. The moan was like a woman in shrill agony, almost sounding creature-like. That noise scared the shit out of me, including the boy in the short. The boy then runs back to his bedroom in shaking fear. Not even the parents are going to check what's going on, even though they're still asleep in their bedroom. The boy went to his bed and hid under the blanket. Then it cuts to a few minutes later with the kid sleeping. It was still nighttime. The boy was now woken up and sees the most terrifying and disturbing thing in existence, staring down at him. The monster was a dark gray rotten man, with a bald head, bloodshot bulging eyes with small pupils, a large mouth with sharp crooked teeth, and wearing what looked to be a ripped up hospital patient attire. This has somehow managed to give me a huge chill by looking at that. And the primitive CGI alone makes it ultra disturbing. The boy screamed as loud as he can, but nobody, not even his parents, came to arrive what was going on. He then frantically leaves his bedroom to the living room. As the boy got in, he noticed that the living room TV was on, displaying static. He tried to manually switch the TV off, but nothing worked. Then he unplugged the TV, which it finally worked. The boy finally relieves himself, thinking it was a bad hallucination, and runs back to his bedroom, where the monster is no longer there. He got back to his bed and slept. A few moments later, the closet suddenly opens itself, revealing that the entrance is an endless black void. The boy woke up and noticed what was going on. Then he got off of his bed and walked towards the closet. The boy was then pushed by an invisible force, causing him to fly away into the darkness, screaming for his mom, to which she never came at all. He then ended up in what looked like a dark, barren wasteland, followed by a haunting soundscape. The sky was pitch black, followed by very dark gray clouds, and the barren field itself was also a dark gray. The scared boy wanders around the unnerving landscape for 2 minutes until he was then grabbed by crimson arms coming from the ground. He literally wanted to know that it was a bad dream, to which it wasn't. Disturbing sounds were emitted during this intense scene. The boy was crying like crazy while struggling with his arms he was grabbed by. The ground then creates a hole in where the boy was grabbed. The boy fell into the hole as his screams and cries were heard, followed by flesh ripping and bone cracking. He was never heard from again as the video fades to black, completely ending the short. As I ejected the tape, I was flabbergasted by the deranged contents of that 3D animated short film made back in 1992. All of that fucked up stuff hadn't been possible at that time. Well, I might have the balls to upload this short to YouTube, but I don't know if the site accepts it for its disturbing nature. Since I hid the tape back into the loft, I had freaky nightmares that lasted for weeks. I don't know who in their right minds would animate that short in the 90s, with the computer technology at the time being limited. The videotape that contained the short itself was a piece of lost media, and it's still something I didn't remember owning at the time. And that was the disturbing computer animated short, written by Tobical Studios. Okay, review time. That was not bad. Not perfect, but not bad. Not bad at all. See, I liked this because, well, sometimes simple is good. Because, like, here it actually makes sense. I like the idea of this being a 5-year-old instead of, like, a 12, 13, 14-year-old kid. Obviously they would be, fearing stuff like this as a kid. Especially in the midst of the dark. Think about this. When you were, like, 4 or 5, some of you, did you imagine something in your room planning to lunge out to get you? Perhaps, like, you thought your coat in your closet was, like, actually a little monster peeking out, wanting to bite your foot off. Something like that. Yeah, well, here it's no different. It encapsulates that childhood fear quite well. I like that idea. It's good. It starts off pretty standard, but like I can like pretty standard, like samey, like, oh, I found this in my basement. But then you actually get to like look at the VHS tape and it makes a semblance of sense. However, there is one thing I didn't understand about the story, and that is the Hook Man. The guy with the, like, bloodshot eyes, like, coming in from his front door. See, the ending, like, actually averted expectations and caused the child to, die from this. You don't know if this is a nightmare or not. That's left up to the imagination, which I like. But there, the monsters in his closet posed as a genuine threat. It made this 5-year-old kid afraid to go in that closet. It gave him a reason to be afraid to go in there. However, this Hook Man just shows up out of nowhere. He just shows up, scares him, disappears. And then he goes back to his room, and that's when he meets the monsters. If that's how you introduce the character, then, like, how are they relevant to the story at all if they're just going to show up and go away? Like, I wish there was like more to this Hookman character than was presented. And he's supposed to be a big part of the story. For that reason, I'm going to take a few points. And for that reason, I'm going to be giving this story a 6.5. Because while it did manage to encapsulate this childhood fear fairly well, and it didn't have to go all out to be that serious, it still has a major part of it that isn't exactly put in there and like handled well, I guess. Like, but with that being said, this is simply my personal opinion. We all have our opinions regarding these pastas. Um, what did you think of the pasta? What would you have done to improve upon it? And as always, I'll see you all in the next narration. I love you all. Bless.